What's happening, guys? Today we're going to talk about today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, and the next day, and actually for a few days we're going to talk about the best champion at each level for each faction for hard mode faction wars. Stop right there, guys. Click on the link below and get yourself a free Karato Fox Hunter, as well as 4 amazing epics. Here's the exact steps of what you need to do. Log out of Plarium Play on PC. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Here we go. You'll find yourself Karato Fox Hunter, as well as Uugo, Rector, Drath, Tagoar, and Mausoleum Mage as you progress through the game. That's it. It's that simple. Click on the link, follow those directions, and on with the video. So looking forward to going through this. I think it's going to be a bit of fun, and actually looking at some of the champions. We've started off obviously with Banner Lords today, and we're going to go from the bottom up, guys. So we have common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and now mythical as well, guys. So we have our 6 different tiers, and I'm going to look at the best from each of them for hard mode faction wars, so that we can be prepared for that. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on common and uncommon. We'll just go through each of them individually, talk about each one of their stats in minute detail. No, I'm just kidding. We'll just look at their skills real quick and move on up to the other guys, okay? But I do want to highlight them because I found them so important on the free-to-play. Just having one of these leveled up, filling a spot in Faction Wars can be really vital to getting you some more stars or some more progression. So I want to give Swordsman here a shout. No, I don't want to give Swordsman a shout out. That's because this is a 30% chance. I want to give a Bandit a shout out. So Bandit has a 75% chance booking to, I thought this was 100. It actually only books to 95% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff for 1 turn. So he's not, I'm not saying build this champion up, but I'm saying, like, if you can get him to like 30 and maybe ascend him or whatever, he'll do to fill a spot if you throw gear on him, and he provides decreased defense, which means that your next champion coming along can get a hit in and hopefully kill whatever problem you were trying to solve. Okay, so handy little spot filler. Again, same kind of thing here. Archer gets my pick at the next tier with her lovely haircut. That's definitely a haircut that was done at home herself. Oh, she's very proud of that one. That was timed immensely well, that little hair flick from her. So attacks 1 enemy 2 times, extra 15% chance of inflicting critical hit, fills her turn meter by 15% if the attack is critical. However, this is the bit that I'm talking about. So attacks all enemies 2 times and has an AoE decreased speed for 1 turn as well. It's not great, but again, a double hitter AoE with decreased speed is handy, and it's better than a boot in the backside, as my father probably used to, no, well, my uncle used to say that to me. Now, into the rares, so it gets a bit more interesting here, and there are a few more options, okay? So primarily, I was looking at the Voids and Rescarm, and Myrmidon, I think, as well, has a provoke on the A1, a decrease attack on the A2, and that's on an AoE, which is an 80% chance of a small decrease attack, but we'll take any decrease attack. Also an ally protection on a 4-turn cooldown as well. Now, that's not bad, considering he's a rare. He has HP of 15,000 and defense of 12,000. Not bad at all. So he's one to watch out for. Rescarm then is another that I really like. He has a stun on the A1, and you're like, yeah, Dahi, but it's a 20% chance booking to 30% chance on the A1, like that's a bit naff. Counter-attack. That's my argument, is counter-attack, okay? So if he gets the counter-attack up, he has increased defense on all allies as well, which really stands to him. So anytime he's getting attacked, then he's coming back with a stun debuff on them for 1 turn as well. So really like that synergy. And then attacks all enemies and places a shield buff on himself for 2 turns equal to 20% of his max HP. And that's on a 3-turn cooldown as well. So that is a really nice little kit. I like that for a little bit of control, bit of survivability with increased defense and counterattack, and a shield as well. I do like that, as well as a faction crypts specific aura too. And he's a defense champion, guys, so that's nice. It does work with his kit now, I have to say. Now, that was Reese Karm, Chevalier, I don't know. Increased defense, continuous heal on an AoE, and a stun on the A2. Ignores block damage and shield on the A1. And I think Vanguard was my next shout. Decreased defense on the A1 if their defense is lower than his. Now, he's a defense-based champion, so I think that's not the best. But his defense is lower than the previous one that we mentioned there, which he is 200 lower, so he just has 1090, whereas the other one was closer to Myrmidon, was I think closer to 1300. Now, so that is pretty good, but the one I think from my pick, if I was going to pick one from this level, is Denid. So Denid comes with a provoke on the A1, comes with an AoE strengthen on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, and it's the big version of strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown on a rare on the A2. I think that's huge. I think that's massive, guys, and definitely not one to be overlooked. And then on the passive, we have a shield buff on him for 2 turns, equal to 10% of his max HP when he's hit by an enemy under provoke, and he provides the provoke on the A1. So I'd probably be building him with maybe a blood shield ring or something like that, and if we got a blessing for him, he'd get that heal whenever the shield went on, replacing the previous shield whenever he gets hit. I think that'd be a good way to go with him. Now, so that's the rares. On to where it gets a little bit more spicy and a little bit more interesting here, guys. There's lots of options here, okay? We know some standout ones that get a lot of use are Lady Annabelle for Doom Tower, especially for Bommel. So that is really good. Archmage Helmut provides a lot of buffs as well, and he provides some control, so he's one that I would definitely talk about. We have he's immune to turn meter control for a start, okay? Attacks once and fills turn meter by 10 or 20% depending on if critical, and then on the A2 attacks one enemy and also attacks all other enemies if the first attack is critical. So you're building him with 100% crit rate, okay? The second hit has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, okay? After attacking, decreases the turn meters of each enemy without a stun debuff by 20%. So basically that's on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, and books up to a 75% chance, okay? So either you're getting a stun on everybody or you're reducing their turn meter by 20% is what's happening there. So that is a great wee skill there. And not only that, on a 3-turn cooldown, he's also bringing you increased speed, increased crit rate, and increased crit damage, as well as a speed aura, which isn't applicable really to faction crypts, unfortunately. Now, so Archmage is one that everybody can definitely get him in Doom Tower, you know, you'll be sorted there, okay? However, I think the next 2 that I'm talking about, I'm going to go in order. I'm going to leave my best to last, I think. Ursala is a fantastic one. Turn meter control. Actually, she may be the best. 40% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. Attacks all enemies. Decrease attack for 2 turns, also places a 50% increase attack on all allies for 2 turns, and that books up to a 100% chance as well. So that skill alone is huge. And then she also revives all dead allies by 75% and fills the turn meters by 50%, and places increased defense and 25% strengthen on all allies for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. and has a Doom Tower aura as well. But this kit is really, really good. She is actually probably the best pick from this level, okay? I would say that she is. However, we're going to talk about the other two. Depending on if I have a reviver or not, she may or may not be the one, okay? So it's case dependent. But Stag Knight, everybody raves about Stag Knight, so you gotta give him the shout. He does decrease speed on the A1. On the A2, everybody loves decreased defense and decreased attack on the one skill on an AoE. On a 95% chance as well. Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is, guys, right? It is the older champions book to 95% chance, because you have that mastery that gives you an extra 5% chance of landing a skill. So if you pick that mastery as well, they have a 100% chance, and that's why they all go to a 95% chance instead of 100. So yeah, so AoE decreased defense and decreased attack is huge. Easier to kill, and they can't kill you as easy. What's not to like? On a 3-turn cooldown, building him fast and accurate, he's going to smack as well. He can smack. He also places a 50% increased accuracy on any ally for 1 turn if they have a debuff resisted by an enemy. So he's also supporting your team like that. Very good champion, one that I overlooked as well. But he's huge. Bringing those two skills together on the one on an AoE is massive. But who I would probably go for, or it's a coin flip really, I'd probably go for Ursula. But Giscard the Sigiled. I always would have said Sigil, but apparently it's Sigil. And then I've heard some people say Sigiled, so I don't know anymore. But he brings a decreased attack on the A1, which is huge. He also brings an AoE provoke on the A2, and that books up to a 75, 80 with that mastery. Also places a shield buff on himself equal to 25% of his max HP for 2 turns. Then also places an increased defense and an increased attack on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. And he has a passive, which fills his turn meter by 15% whenever they are attacked by an enemy under provoke or increase attack, as well as a huge faction crypts aura, which increases defense by 27%, and he is himself a defense-based champion. So I think Giscard gets it for me, not from me, that's different. So decrease attack, provoke and a shield, AoE provoke and AoE buffs, increase defense and attack, and turn meter fill. I think he brings a whole lot there. I think the only one that contends with him there is Ursula. But I think you can't go wrong with Stag Knight, Giscard, or Ursula. To be honest, I think they're 3 fantastic champions as well. But the real hero we all know is Fearmonger, right, guys? Everybody knows this, yeah? No, I'd love to. I really want to build him for the memes. I so want to build him for the memes. I want to build a Halloween team and have him in there and just make him work. I'd have to get him +4 and a 6-star blessing or something. But yeah. Oh, that's actually surprising. 4.4 rating, and then 3, mid to high 3s everywhere else. But I didn't think I'd see that there. It's a shame you can't see what people have said about him. But yeah, those 3, Giscard, Stag Knight, or Ursula, definitely the best of the bunch. Honorable mention, Lady Annabelle, Warcaster for the block damage, although I always find 1-turn block damage to be extremely frustrating to speed tune, because likely by the time the enemies have taken their turn, your characters have taken their turn, so you want your 1-turn block damager to be faster than whatever is going to take a turn, but slower than the rest of your team, so he gets it on just before they go. And then if there's any turn meter or speed increase or anything like that, it's likely just not going to work out. So I don't like 1-turn buffs and stuff like that. Now into the legendaries, guys, and this, we're talking about banner lords here. There is some absolute insane champions. You can't pass by Taras and Marichka, right? But let's say they are given, okay? Taras Marichka. Taras obviously bringing insane damage, decrease attack, turn meter fill on all allies by 5%, stun on one enemy, and double damage to enemies whose attack is equal to or higher than his, and also attacks ally attacks with Marichka on that skill, and then attacks all enemy with that massive damage increase for each buff on all allies, and then increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn as well, and then heals as well based on that too. He also has the insane passives where he reduces enemies' attacks. He puts a fear on the different factions. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît, monsieur. Orcs, Ogrins, Undead Hordes, and Demon Spawn factions at the beginning of each round. Yeah, and then incoming damage from all skills reduced by 50%. You can't pass him by. You really can't. I mean, he probably is one of the best picks out of this bunch. We also then have Marichka. Just that passive alone, whenever she dies, she revives everybody else. If you have the likes of Raglan on the team as well, just let Marichka do her thing. Raglan's going to get her turn real quick, and she has the big revive on a 2-turn cooldown. She can get Marichka back up, and just like, you're never going down. You're never going down. It's just that simple. Unless they have block revive, I suppose. So yeah, those two are kind of a given, really. But talking then more about utility and different bits and pieces, Sigmund the High Shield is one to watch, guys, for the simple fact that he offers really good control and survivability and can do a bit of damage. Now, I am adamant they need to either change his damage type or change his shield type. Okay? His shield is based off of HP, his damage is based off defense. Just make them match. I don't care which way you do it. Just make them match one way or the other, okay? Alright, Polarium, deal. But removes shield buff on the A1, also has a 50% chance of removing one other random buff, okay? So keeping buffs off the enemy and bosses as well is so important to your survivability, but he also controls enemy waves, okay? So an AoE provoke for 1 turn, all enemies, also providing decrease attack for 2 turns, is incredibly good. Okay, I really like this on a 3-turn cooldown, and then on this we have a 3-turn cooldown shield for 30% of his max HP, and a strengthen on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. That's huge. It's just so much survivability and control in his kit and buff stripping. And then as well as that, if he doesn't strip the buffs with the A1, whenever he's attacked, has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs on the attacker by 1, and has a 40% chance instead when he's attacked by a boss. So not only that, there's more. Oh no, it's Doom Tower. I thought that was faction crypts. My bad. But it is, yeah, insanely big aura there with 40%. I think that's possibly one of the biggest ones in the game. 40% Doom Tower defense aura. So he is really good for getting through stuff. Okay, he's not going to get you there quick. He's not going to get you there in a flashy manner or anything like that, but he's so good for getting you there. And then my next pick is going to be Staltus. And I just think he's so good because of... he can hit, he's a defense-based champion, but it's his utility. So Mr. Dragonbane, as we call it. Did you know Staltus Dragonbane, actually, this is a tangent here. Did you know Staltus Dragonbane has never killed a dragon? In his champion lore, he's basically, it's a family thing. Yeah, Staltus makes no secret of the fact that he has never slain a dragon, nor even encountered one. But for him, that's precisely the point. So basically, he's like a doomsday prepper, getting all the bits and pieces together, ready, so that if there ever is a dragon, he can deal with it. And we all know that he does do that extremely well, okay? But his utility is what tips him over ahead of some of the other nukers that we have in Bannerlords, guys. So if we look at his A1 there, attacks one enemy twice. If the target is under any debuff, each hit decreases the target's turn meter by 10%, okay? It's not much, but it's a 20%, yeah, it's a possible 20% turn meter control, okay? That can be the difference when you're in a wave battle, and let's say there's one final enemy, you're in your last breath, you attack them, decrease their turn meter by 20%, and that's just enough, just that much, to get you your go again before they get their go again. Now, this though, control is key in waves. In Doom Tower, in Faction Wars, Centranos, even Arena and all that, to a lesser extent, it is, but it's more difficult, okay? Control is massive. Like in the free-to-play series that we just done with Hell Hades and the whole lot, the guys that were able to progress furthest in Doom Tower and then reap the benefits of that, which kind of expounded upon themselves as well, was were the guys that had better control, not that had better nukers or anything like that. It was the guys that had control. So Nubs was able to progress really far, really fast, because he had Sigmund the High Shield. So that provoke and survivability was huge. Attacks all enemies, however, 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance, booking to 65, 70 with that mastery. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. So AoE stun, guys, it's not a 100% chance, but it is hitting twice and each hit counts. That's huge. You're likely getting it on everyone. Then we have this one here, places a 60% increased defense on himself for 3 turns, then attacks all enemies, remembering his damage is based on defense as well, so he's buffing himself. Has a 75% chance of placing a 25% decreased crit damage debuff for 2 turns on enemies whose attack is higher than their defense, and a decreased speed on enemies whose attack is equal to or lower than their defense. Okay, I don't even care about these really, but the decreased speed is probably going to land the most in that Faction Wars, because health and defense seem to get stacked in the harder modes of dungeons and all that kind of thing. So I would say this is going to be landing. So that's more control on the enemy team as well. So you have stun here, you have decreased speed there. Decreased crit damage is kind of widely accepted as the worst debuff in the game, but that's on a 4-turn cooldown, and that's on a 100% chance, but it's the buff on himself that's the big selling point there. But the other reason here is this bit, okay? Whenever an enemy attempts to place a weaken, decreased defense, or a poison, reflects them back onto the attacker. Damage increases by 5% for each debuff on the target as well. So not only does he buff his damage here, he buffs his damage here as well. And oh yeah, you can't debuff his damage, because remember, his damage is based on defense, so you can't decrease it. And not only that, if you try to, you're getting your own back. So I think he's so incredibly good in that as well, and his aura will be applicable in Doom Tower. So I think Staltus probably gets my pick there. Now, if you have Taras Marichka, you don't even need to watch this video, really, for a start. You're just going in with the 2 of them, and you'll probably waltz through the whole lot. But Staltus and Sigmund are definitely my picks from the run-of-the-mill. But honourable mention, Blade Master, Raglan, Baron, you know, there's lots there. There is a good few there. And of course, mythical has to be Androck. Is this the only faction with only 1 mythical now? It may be. Androck is going to be fantastic for hard Faction Wars, guys. Increased defense on all allies on his A1. All enemies. Increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn, heals all allies by 4% of their max HP for every buff on them that had its duration increased, so he becomes a massive healer as well. And then increase resistance, strengthen, and continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, and an additional 15% continuous heal on all allies with less than 50% HP. So they'll get 2 continuous heals as well. He'd pair well with Senna, obviously, in Chimera, guys, as well. So he transforms. He also increases res for buffs and critical hits inflicted by allies. Fill the turn meter of all allies by 5%, okay? Huge. Then we have this side, and this side is what's going to be massive for Faction Wars Hard, guys. Decreased defense. Basically, he's the opposite now of everything. He was buffing you, now he's debuffing the enemy. So decrease res, weaken, and enfeeble. If enemies have 50% HP or less, the enfeeble debuff cannot be removed. So enfeeble is basically, it's your win button. Okay, they're not going to be able to do anything to you. They're going to weak hit on all of their skills. Yeah, that's just going to get you through all of Faction Wars hard. I can't see any reason why it wouldn't. And then the only thing that would stop that is debuffs. Removes all buffs from all enemies. So that deals with the block debuffs, guys. So incredibly good. Deals pure damage to each enemy equal to 5% of the target's max HP for each buff removed. This damage cannot be critical. Also places a block buffs debuff on all enemies without buffs for 2 turns. So incredibly good champion, guys. Obviously, if you have him and you have Taras and Marichka, you don't need to be watching this, but that's my take there as well, guys. Rhonda is another one there. The Banner Lords are stacked, but those are my picks for the most. You know, there's utility to those champions as well as pure damage. So don't overlook those, guys. Let me know what you think or who you think would be really good in the Faction Wars hard, guys. See you in the comments. Take care. Bye-bye.